you very much. I was so afraid that she was going to ask me to sing. Right, it was such a difficult, just let me get my stuff ready. It was so difficult for me to be here because I could not get a positive PCR to be in Dubai. I got a positive COVID on a Monday morning, and so don't worry, you're safe. I retested, and I got 2 negatives, so I'm here. I'm going to introduce my panel, and I lost one of them as well. So the first panelist is Professor, I must just get my Professor Sharma. He's from India. Professor, would you join us on the stage, please? I will introduce him just now. And then give him a nice round of applause, please. And then Mr. Gijs Burger. Mr. Burger, give him a nice round of applause. And then I've been looking for him, but I haven't met him yet, Mr. Bakshi. Is he in the audience? He is there. Sir, so glad to see you. Give him a nice round of applause. I've been looking for you, and I'm so glad that you are with us here this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we dropped the mic. This panel this morning will briefly give an insight on their take on skills and strategies to strengthen digital literacy. Now you listened to an introduction from the lady who introduced me. If you look into the topic, and I'll look at it at a later stage again, you will find that there are so many angles when one look at digital literacy, but I will give them the opportunity to give it from their perspective. Now, the 3 gentlemen, when I introduce them, you will see that they come from different perspectives on this topic. And I have given them quite a free rein. I have not met them. I know the one gentleman. I've briefly met the other one in the bathroom just now. We first washed hands and then shook hands. But we have spoken over email, and I'm going to give them the opportunity to give their impression of the topic, because it's a difficult topic, and has a different perspective depending on where we look at it from different year perspectives. So, and then after that, I will ask a few leading questions. Right, so let's start off with Professor Sharma. Now, in my country, I'm from South Africa, in Cape Town. We use the term prof as a term of endearment when we refer to the professor, so I will refer to him as prof today. Now, Professor Sharma is a professor at sorry, I'm just get my information here. At a professor of physics with a vast experience of curriculum delivery at university level. And he has experienced, obviously, not that he's older, but he has experienced the whole level of curriculum delivery at university level. Professor is a program coordinator for the NSS Bureau of Siksha Yusan, and it's deemed a university in India, and he can explain something about that. And he says, when I introduce him, I should say, Prof. Sharma is an interesting fusion of poetry and science. He's not only a believer, but an active practitioner of Ubuntu. Professor, you have the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. Thank you. I've given them each 7 minutes.
So sisters and brothers assembled here,
kindly accept my gratitude, and I will greet you on behalf of my university. Hank has probably misspelled it. It is Sikkha Anusandhan University. Sikkha means education and Anusandhan means research. So the university stands for education and research. And I must share you a very beautiful experience that Hank and me met each other, and the introduction took place in the toilet. So my point is that I was listening to many talks here, and I will not be speaking very deeply on skills and strategies to strengthen digital literacy, but I will bring my 35 years of experience in the field of education and research, and I am been placed in different positions, starting from working with the kids, university students, PhD scholars, and also NSS program coordinator and community engagement. Then I am also the director of international relations. I am traveling to Africa often. So what is important? Why we will be talking about digital literacy? My point is that can we discuss it in an isolated perspective? Is it not connected to the entire human life? Because when we mean education, what does we mean by education? Because that is very important. In Sanskrit, there is a very beautiful saying. Sanskrit is the mother of many languages. Whether in the Indo-European languages series, the origin is Sanskrit. So, sa vidya ja vimuktoy. Education is that which liberates you from the bondage of your mind. Basically, we all live with different kinds of prejudices, and all kinds of misunderstanding exist between you and me, between community and community, due to these prejudices, due to this prejudgment. So education liberates you. And while talking about digital literacy, you must not forget that whatever the digital literacy means, it must obey three principles. What are those three principles? If you see a thing, you will forget. If you listen to a thing, you will forget. If you see a thing, you may remember. But if you do it yourself, you understand. Why I am telling you this, let me share you very briefly about a personal experience. When I was initially a lecturer at my young age, and when I took my second son to schools for this pre-primary, he will weep and come back with me. And this whole process continued for 1 year. And my wife told me, why are you taking the child every day to the school and again bringing him back to home? Will he not read? Then I told, he is weeping, what can I do? He is not interested to go to school. Then their teachers advised me that you keep him here. We will mend him. We will put him into the process. I just inquired, what is that process? They told that we will frighten him. We will tell that if you are not going to come to the school, we will keep you with a cat, with a dog. We will lock you in the garage. Then I told, no, at such a young age, he will feel very frightened. Why not you do one thing? Give me 1 hour, because you are keeping the child for 3 hours. The first hour you should give it to me, so that I can design some kinds of things for them. And you will be surprised to find that they agreed. And for 1 year, I divided the whole year into 10 topics, like leaf, flowers, bark, then sky, mud, water, sticks, like that. And on each topic, I devised 10 activities. And then there were 48 students, including my son. And every day I will design those activities with those students. And you will be happy and surprised to find that he will continue to go to schools. So the basic objective is that this education scenario, because I was listening to many beautiful topics and very interesting discussions, what is important is not the system. What is important is the pupil, the child. Whether it is digital literacy, whatever it may be, we must not forget the human element. That is very, very important. Unless we give emphasis to that human element, we are not going to do justice to this thing. Why I am telling you, we cannot discuss digital literacy as it is or taking it from an isolated perspective, because in Germany now a beautiful book has come out, I am forgetting the name. In that very book it has been mentioned that human race, if it is able to survive 21st century, then it must not forget about 4 cardinal principles. What are they? One is sustainability, the second is justice, the third is respect, and the fourth is non-violence. So can you practice your education and digital literacy confined to this room? No. Unless in your life, in your educational system, all these 4 things will find place, then our education is not going to be democratic, truly democratic. True, it will not achieve the kind of the kind of values that we are expecting. So what is important? So basically, kindly, there are experts. I was talking with Mr. Bakshi. Probably I have not heard the other panelists. So Mr. Bakshi will tell you many things about the digital literacy and all these things. Here, our university in the NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, which was formulated by Government of India after 37 years. Now, this new education policy envisages that all universities should be ranked in different categories. And our university, Shiksha and Anusandhan, aspires to be a multidisciplinary education and research university, in addition to being a digital university. So I was talking with my friend Mr. Bakshi that what are the parameters that we will be employing or utilizing to achieve that digital literacy status. All of you know that any information has to be found out. So that the first component is finding. The second component is understanding. And the third component is evaluating. And the fourth component is creating. And the fifth component is communicating. Communicating is a very important thing. Communicating builds networks, builds collaboration. And or if you look at the growth of knowledge in the entire human history, then you will find out that marriage between 2 diverse subjects gives rise to a very new thing, just like algebra and geometry. Perfect. It was fused. And just 1 second or how much? 1 minute.
3 seconds.
3 seconds. So coordinate geometry. So I will coordinate geometry. Then electricity and magnetism were 2 different things. Faraday synthesized it, performed a marriage, and you have this electromagnetism, beautiful things and all these things. Then Einstein's mass and energy were 2 different things. He fused them, and energy mass equivalence, you got E is equal to mc square. And then de Broglie is there of wave and particle. That also fused, and you have got wave-particle duality. So my point is that before conclusion, just otherwise Hank will be, yeah.
Prof.
So individual knowledge and the bouquet of different things, like different techniques, if we can have a marriage between these diverse topics, then I think digital literacy will be justified. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Prof, you will definitely have time to get back to your point. I will ask you questions on that. I'm now going to ask Mr. Berger. Mr. Berger is the headmaster of the deputy headmaster. I must confess here, I am his headmaster. Of a large primary school in Cape Town, South Africa. And he is on the brink of becoming a headmaster himself. He's a specialist in the full Office 365 deployment, and the school where he's at has been online learning for 2 years prior to COVID. Mr. Berger, I forgot to say that the Prof is an avid runner, and I'll say something about our friend in the middle as well. Mr. Berger is an avid off-roader, and he believes that the only vehicle that should be off-road is a Volkswagen Amarok. I don't know whether you know the vehicle, but I think in the Emirates they would kill him for that. I know it's only one vehicle in the Emirates, and that's a Land Cruiser. Mr. Berger, you've got 7 minutes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for sitting down, and thank you for the nice introduction, Mr. Arangis. I'm from a primary school, as Mr. Arangis has said, in Cape Town. We have 1,300 learners. And I'll be speaking today about the context of our learners as well as our teachers in the primary school sector. As Mr. Arangis mentioned, we have a full Office 365 deployment in our school. But we've also strengthened our school curriculum delivery model by writing our own digital curriculum in our school in 2016. I'll refer back to that later. We also have additional programs in our school such as coding, STEM and robotics, STEAM, as well as gamification. And I'll also refer to that, why that is important. What I want to say about these additional skills is everything that you do in your school with regards to digital literacy creates new ways of thinking. And I think the challenge of teachers in 2022 is how are we going to let our learners realize the ways in which they need to apply these skills. Now, when you think of digital literacy, it is more the mindset or the skill of how to apply that than the actual technical abilities of how to do it. And I'll come back to that later. When you initially start change management in your school, and we've also done this at our school, technology was always something additional to what their daily activities was and is. And I know there's many of you from different contexts, but we've had the same in South Africa where technology was something additional, something that the learners either go to a technology classroom, and we've spent the past decade actually to make it an integral part of daily activities, and that's a challenge. So again, coming back to the mindset of the teachers that needs to make sure that it's an integral part. So the way that we strengthen our teachers is we have our teachers create digital content, because that's also what the learners will do, and I'll come back to that later. By creating digital content, our teachers are forced to think about how they are going to incorporate different technologies within a specific goal or an outcome. We've started by creating videos, online lessons, which was evident that we could use in COVID when COVID lockdown occurred, also obviously in South Africa as well. Luckily, we've spent so much change management in our school that we were ready for COVID. And in the contents of Cape Town in South Africa, we're one of the few schools that was ready for online learning. The teachers actually realized that they are also as creative as the students, because students also create content, and I'll come back to that later. The challenge actually for teachers is that when they create digital media, they must do that for the right purpose and not only just create media for the sake of creating media. So when you are at a school and you ask teachers to create something or to teach with media, they'll just add media without having a specific goal and an outcome. And I think it's important for your teachers to realize that they must work with a specific purpose. And this actually brought a new challenge in our school, is that you want your children or your learners to create a digital skills and how to apply that, but your teachers actually also have to have 2 tracks. So by using the 2 tracks of this conference, I think teachers can also have 2 tracks. The first track is that they must develop the digital skills of the learners as individual levels, but also how to incorporate that into group work. The professor also mentioned communication and engagement with each other. So if a teacher is teaching a class, that teacher must upskill those learners within their own ability, as well as upskill them within a specific group with engagement and digital communication. So those 2 tracks is actually important for your teachers to understand. To get back to that strategy is that you have to work on data of learners, because learners are at different levels, and it's important for you to realize that differentiation within a digital world is the key. And that is a very difficult thing to do for your teachers, specifically in the educational context where I come from. The one method fits all approach in South Africa is still very evident today, and to have a digital differentiated approach is very difficult for your teachers, and you must address that when you do change management. Teachers must find the correct strategy to involve their learners at school. When learners have an outcome or a strategy where they work from the goal back to specific instructions, they can then align their groups and have their groups change throughout the school. So the way that we do digital literacy in our school is we have groups that work towards a specific goal, but have them change within a specific day and not have groups for a longer duration. In South Africa, you'll have teachers that divide their class into a group, and they'll be in that group for the whole term or for 10 or 11 weeks. Whereas in South Africa or at our school in Eversdal, we would like that group to change throughout the day. I think it's important for them to differentiate within the specific day. Our learners we strengthen our learners working on their own level. So to get back to Microsoft, our learners use OneNote in Microsoft, and OneNote allows our learners to develop their own learning environment. So when our teachers teach, the learners must use OneNote and build their own learning platform. So we try our teachers to teach less than 10 minutes and then facilitate the rest of the time. So I'll get back to communication within office as well. Learners have access to support, and we especially found this during COVID, whereas learners work on different levels and they need different levels of support at school as well as at home. The challenge of our teachers is to make that also happen while the learners are at school.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. While our learners are at school. So learners communicate in the electronic world, and we also found this during COVID. We had learners speaking to our teachers that never spoke to our teachers while at school. And it's important for them to continue that digital communication whilst at school and not only at home, because our teachers can provide support electronically as well. Using different sources to organize learning is key. You can't develop digital literacy skills if your learners cannot organize themselves within their learning environment. And I know I've said a lot. I just want to end off with that just to emphasize that. If your learners cannot organize themselves in their own learning environment, they will not know how to apply digital literate skills. I'll come back to that.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Right, thank you, Mr. Berger. Let's give him a round of applause. English is not our first language. Mr. Bakshi, he very quickly said I could call him JB. Mr. Bakshi, he works in the data field, and I'm very interested to listen to him this morning. He has an MBA in Management Information Systems, and he's the MD of one of the biggest LMS and virtual classroom companies globally, WizIQ. I think it's very interesting to have listened to the professor and listen to a primary school teacher, and then listen to a gentleman that works on education platforms to get those three perspectives. I will try and pull it together after the three have spoken, and then ask them a few questions, because we're getting a diverse feedback from them. JB, you have the floor. Thank you. 7 minutes.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, and I'm sorry again that we all are sitting here. But so WizIQ was established in 2007. Since then, we are in the EdTech industry. We have been providing digital resources such as learning management systems and virtual classroom to solve real-world problems. Today, our LMS and virtual classroom is being used by millions of users for training, collaboration, and learning purposes. creating a knowledge base for a new user is a key to the, for the skills to learn to teach online. So as Professor Sharma was saying, that there is a need for all the learners to go online. Many of the universities all over the world are actually going online and going in the hybrid model where everyone wants to come in classes for a shorter period of time but be online mostly, so that they can take courses. And someone sitting in Dubai today can take a course from India, or somebody sitting in India can take a course from US. And that all is possible through these kind of digital tools like learning management systems and virtual classrooms. A digital platform can be provided to one easily, but the key role for an educator or instructor is how well they can use a digital platform for better learning for the students or the learner. There are some key features in our virtual classroom that we provide, like breakout rooms, polls, media player, YouTube, annotations, something like you can upload any document, any format a document is in, you can upload, and the educator and the learner can learn together and can collaborate together on it. Whereas usually in some meeting tools you can't do that. You have to share your screen and then do it. The recording are not there sometimes, all those free features that are using. Reports are generated within the LMS to analyze a students' and learners' progress, and which can be mapped and seen the difference between where the learner was before and now where the learner is. A proper onboarding with a detailed training is necessary to utilize the LMS and the virtual classroom to its best possible extent for the best outcomes. In today's world, we also find a lot of issues with the audio and video in a classroom. Something as simple as a meeting tool will be facing the same problems where I cannot hear you. We hear that often, right? When on a call. So all these simple tools, like you need to learn how to, so there are these pop-ups which will pop up and you have to enable them to start your audio and video. So these are basic skills that in today's world we have to teach. Not only all our, as adults we have to learn them, but we have to teach these small things to small juniors from school, from K to 12 also they have to learn this. So these are some things which, with all the skills that we need to come online and teach online, I think this is a changing world. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. Yes, as you could hear from our three partners on stage, our three panelists, the term digital literacy has taken on a different meaning over the past decades. But as they gave feedback, there is still overlapping understanding of the terminology. In the early days, digital literacy focused on the skills that were needed to use computers, and this evolved to smartphones, tablets, laptops, and wearable tech. Today, the term also includes the ability to manipulate and evaluate data that we receive in different multimedia formats. Now, that was a description of it about 5 years ago. The professor spoke purely about, he made it very practical when he spoke about his children or his grandchildren, I'm not sure, about how they dealt with it. But when he talks about the university students, he speaks about dealing with digital literacy in Facebook, on platforms. And when we look at the other two gentlemen, they still look at some technical skills that are still out there. So we have a vast area that people still look at when they talk about it. But there is a definition at the end that I want to give you, because that is the terminology that people refer to when they refer to digital literacy today, and that is the challenge, and I want to ask a few questions on that. I'm going to ask the professor the first question. As he is teaching, professor, in a university environment, you find students coming to your university, and there is such a vast information area on the internet that they draw information from. I can just only access or guess that it is a problem for them to digest and work with that data and finding the correct data, and that is the essence of digital literacy. What would you say would be the challenge for schools prior to tertiary education to help solve that problem?
This is a very pertinent question raised by Hank. Actually, in this today's world, we are lost in the jungle of informations, explosion of informations, and it is very easy to be led astray as far as information is concerned. So that is why I have also mentioned very clearly in my talk that one has to go through these 5 processes, and we must teach our student very critically. And when I am telling students, you must understand about 2 categories of students. It may so happen that you can have genius also, and I will also give you 2 examples. Now, number 1, one must have the ability to find informations. Now, the information is not sequential. That means in the pre-digital age, suppose you want to find out something, then the page number will be enough, and indexing and card will do the same thing. But now it is lateral. So the information finding has gone a sea changes. So all those techniques has to be taught to the child, number 1. And finding is not enough. He has to understand. So the next second concept will come, the understanding the information. Okay, the source of the information, the authenticity of the informations. All these things has to be very critically evaluated. And the third is, once this finding, understanding is there, then evaluation. The evaluation of the information is also very important. And then once you evaluate it, then that is not enough. You have to, whatever you have assimilated, you have to create. You have to create digital informations that will take you to the 4th step. And finally, whatever you have created, that has to be disseminated. And there, I have already mentioned in my brief introduction, this collaboration part will come in that communications, where you will have marriage between 2 diverse fields. And when I was talking about 2 categories of students, one is you may have ordinary or brilliant students, but there is every chance that you can stoop across a 1 or 2 geniuses also. In that case, what will the poor teacher will do? Let me give you 2 examples. One is of Carl Friedrich Gauss. When Gauss was reading in class 5th, his teacher told all the class students to add from 1 to 100 so that they will take a lot of time, and in the process the teacher will enjoy afternoon nap. So that was his idea. But this Gauss, immediately he came and he showed the formula. He showed the total sum. It was 5050. And the teacher was stupefied. He did not know. He was thinking that probably all the students will go on adding 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 up to 100. But this fellow write 1 plus 2 plus dot dot plus 99 plus 100. Reverse it, 100 plus 99 plus dot dot plus 2 by 1. Add them, there will be 101. 50, 100, 100, 101 will be 100 into 101. Because it has taken twice, so divided by 2, and it becomes a celebrated formula. So when you are adding some n continuous integers, then it will be n into n plus 1 divided by 2. And I will give you another example. Let us take the example of the genius mathematician Ramanujan. When Ramanujan was on the sick bed, and his friend Hardy went to him and told him that I came in a taxi whose number was very uninteresting. Then Ramanujan asked, what is the number? He told it is 1729. Immediately Ramanujan told, that is the most beautiful number ever found in the world. Then Hardy told, how? You just explain me. That is the smallest number which can be expressed as the sum of cubes of 2 numbers in 2 different ways. 10 cube plus 9 cube and 12 cube plus 1 cube will be 1729. Now you just imagine, when you have got such student, what the poor teacher will do.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Let's give him a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been a principal for 26 years. I can't stop this, Professor. Right. The second question I'm going to ask JB. JB, on your platform, can I ask you, you've been working in the data fields and you've been seeing the needs of your users, both tutors and learners. Do you think, can you see any areas on literacy, digital literacy, which skills and strategies would you be able to suggest, if you could suggest anything that has to be added into a curriculum at school level that will improve people's ability to work in an online platform, for instance?
Sure. So, I think gamification is one of them. Gamification should be added because it adds more of a, like a motivation for us for younger students, and one is that. The second would be using appropriate tools inside the classroom itself. So if there are multimedia players like a YouTube video available for a topic that the educator is teaching a student on, so using that short video clip inside the classroom, play it, ask questions related to that, using that. Then polling features. If you have multiple students in a classroom, ask them questions through the polling features. After that, get that data and analyze that data. You will see certain patterns in that data as well. Also, just being mindful of what these students are learning, and so some features are could be also using some third-party courses that you can ask the student, okay, after this, you can take this course. It is on that website. Maybe it will help you, because let's be honest, not everyone has all the resources in one place. The resources are scattered, and there is someone providing that in this world, whatever your demand is.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's clear that there is still a lot of technical skill set also in the whole world of digital learners. I'm going to ask the same type of question for Mr. Berger. Mr. Berger, your school was prepared for COVID and online teaching. You must have learned some lessons on certain skills and aspects lacking in your students during this period. What would you change in your curriculum or your strategy to better prepare your children to be more digital literate in future in your curriculum approach?
Thank you for the question. I want to again start with my last statement when I previously had the chance to speak, that we need to have our learners understand how to apply their skills. The gentleman next to me referred to gamification as well. There's so many digital tools or resources to use. The first challenge that we have is all these different sources. We have to have our learners understand that not everything is reliable, and we have to teach them a way of finding the correct information, especially when we add social media into schools. And we must make sure that our learners determine what is correct and not. What I would add, to come back to the question, into our curriculum is to make sure that I refer to a learner organizing his own learning environment. And if he uses different sources, and there's a vast amount of sources out there, that learner must use those sources within a organized environment where he can present what he found. I think I would add to my curriculum that whether it's a specific topic in the world and our learners use different sources, that they organize that digital content in such a way that they can present it to the class more frequently than what's currently in our curriculum, because they have to determine what is relevant, what is correct, use it digitally, and then present it to their peers.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Right, I would like to summarize. I found the following general thoughts on the following statements. One essential component of digital literacy when it comes to the field of pedagogy is deep learning. And that is the essence, I think, of learning, is and when one goes into digital literacy, it is deep learning, and the 6 core skills, there might be more, is the following. And if we listen to what the panelists said, it is the essence of, and I listened next door to another presenter talking about, just forgot the topic now, but a deeper level of learning. Collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, citizenship, character, and communication. And if we look at all the information that's out there today, we just look at the information that we are being bombarded with at the moment. And our children needs to learn, and we need to be taught how to distinguish between what is news and what is information and what is not information. And that is a responsibility of as educators. So I want to read the following piece on digital literacy. Digital literacy is not a skill set, it's a mindset. It's a person's ability, confidence, and motivation to successfully navigate and use digital environments to achieve the desired outcome. The outcome may include interacting with systems to access resources, synthesizing information to create new insight, and communicating with others. When rolling out a new system, be it a resource or a digital tool, everyone will start with zero experience. The difference will be between those who are able to adopt it quickly and those who struggle. This is definitely a new form of literacy, and we have to prepare our learners and students for it. And then just the following 7 points, 7 ways to teach digital literacy. Emphasize the importance of critical thinking, I've mentioned that. Use social media for learning and collaboration. Has to be more in our teaching processes. Provide guidance on how to avoid plagiarism. It has to be taught. Very important at university. Teach students to manage their online identity. Help students manage digital distractions, and provide authentic context for practice. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank our 3 panelists. I'm not done yet. I have 3 questions that I want to ask our panelists before we, no, I'm first going to ask for any questions. I've got 3 questions that I want to ask the panelists. These are surprise questions that has got nothing to do with the topic. So, Mr. Berger, 1 second.
I'll just see if there's questions.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? No question. Sorry, I can't see. Yes, sir. You can just say whether you want to direct it at one of the.
To your deputy director of the school. Yeah. So you had mentioned about COVID and the need for the school to, rely on digital literacy learning. We know in literacy, children learn better when they're surrounded by parents or others in their household who are also literate. So in regards to digital literacy, how did you or your school support parents who may, who are not digital natives? They weren't born with technology, I'm included. A lot of people didn't have a phone when they were younger. They may not understand some of the digital platforms students would have to learn on from the school. So in terms of that, what kind of ideas or lessons did you learn about how do you strengthen the digital literacy practices within the household that could then benefit the student and the learner? Or was that something that came a little late or didn't happen at all? Thanks.
Thank you for the question. What we've done is we were fortunate enough that we started a tablet program in our school in 2013. And in South Africa in 2013, touch technology was very new. Most people still had mobile phones with buttons on them. So what we've done is, myself and our headmaster, is that every year, a couple of times a year, we've invited parents to talk to them about the curriculum change that we are busy with at the school. And the curriculum change that we were busy with at the school had technology integration in it. And as the years went by, we incorporated in our talks with our parents the way that we are going to change the teaching method at our school. Because we are in a community that's very conservative. And most of our parents are sort of in the mindset that what worked for them must work for their learners. But obviously the world has changed. So we've spent a lot of time talking to our parents and showing to our parents how the ways of teaching in our school changed. What worked very well at our school is that we had a lot of show and tell evenings. So we invite our parents to come to school, to sit in class and have our teachers teach to our parents. And that ensured that we had buy-in from our parents. So by the time that COVID started, and we taught our learners, with live streaming and working through Teams and Microsoft OneNote, etc., our parents already supported the school, and it actually ensured that parents trust what we done. The challenge, however, was having our younger learners have support from their parents. So our grade 1, 2, and 3 learners, those learners and their parents had more challenges than working from 4 to 7. Just as a side joke, I think most parents in the COVID years, past 2 years, realize that they can't be teachers, and actually have more respect for, in South Africa, more respect for teachers. So we were fortunate in that sense.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Any more questions? I can maybe just add to you, sir, that we started with year 7 in 2013 on devices already. So the children were very confident. So that sort of went over to the parents as well. Any more questions? Right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The three questions. Professor, what would you advise all your students to study if you could start fresh today as a course? What course? One single course that you can do at university.
One course.
One course, just one course. Just one. You've got 5 seconds.
Oh, one course.
Yeah, just one course. Just one course.
Which course I will suggest? I will suggest. I will suggest them human relations.
Human relations.
Yes.
Okay.
Human relations.
Give a nice round of applause. Right, JB, your question. You ready for it? Okay. Which famous person, dead or alive, would you like to chat for an hour?
I'll give you a slight of a business-minded answer in this.
Pardon?
I'll give you a slight of a business-minded answer in this.
Okay.
Maybe, let's say Mukesh Ambani. He's the Reliance owner. So I'll, 1 hour with him.
You can explain to me who he is. Someone very important?
He's the richest man of India.
Okay.
Yeah. He's in the top 5 in the world now.
Okay. I thought you would say Steve Jobs. Now, Mr. Berger, I'm going to ask a very difficult question. Let's give him a round of applause. Mr. Berger, what did you learn from your previous boss not to do when you are a principal one day?
So when we started,
short answer.
When we started in 2013 to incorporate digital learning in our school, he came to the staff room one day and he stood in front of the staff and he told the staff that there will become a day where we are going to use all the technology in the school, we're going to use it, and there won't be any time for anyone to be left behind. And he made the following remark, and I would not do this, that if you are not going to do what we do, I suggest that you resign and we'll find a new teacher.
That wasn't me, it was a different boss. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.